Hey guys, we are back with another episode of the Fly High Wi-Fi Health Podcast here. Uh, Today we have a couple topics we haven't really discussed yet. This is kind of a good thing because we're trying to run into other topics that we haven't done and find ones that can keep piquing people's interest and making sure that they stay interested in what we have going on. Scout. Um, I am Pros23 Sharp. What either one? We have Mrs. Wi-Fi here. She is the reason we are here today, doing what we do. The research, everything that goes into this is right here. So without her, you guys, this would be just me talking and rambling. So big thanks to her and everything that she does for us. Um, Apologies for the dogs going crazy in the back. Um, in that case, I will let you take over so I can handle that.
So I'm gonna be just talking to myself. Where are you let him come back?
Wasn't gonna be that long.
I know, that's why I said just to let you come back.
Oh.
I haven't said anything.
All right.
So we'll start with the first topic of self-determination theory. So a little different. It's a theory that dates back to 1985. The first people that dug into it was Deci and Ryan. So it starts with the Deci and Ryan's theory of motivation, but it's grown since there.
Okay.
Deci and Ryan focused on self determination as a general being of goal for an individual, that we can't help but be motivated by external sources.
Okay.
This model, so like their model, says there are three basic needs to be self determined: autonomy, and that means people have a need to feel that they are the masters of their own destiny and that they have at least some control of their lives, most importantly, control of their own behavior. Two would be competence. So this is a level or a need of concern about our achievements, knowledge, and
Okay.
skills. So people have a need to build their competence and develop mastery over tasks that are important to them.
Okay.
And then the third would be relatedness or connection. So having a sense of belonging or connection to others.
Okay.
But
I feel,
like I mentioned, it's go ahead.
I was gonna say the competence one is kind of where I fall and play for myself with that one because I feel like I always got to learn something new and adapt, and I gotta achieve greatness in everything that I do, or try to be great at everything I do. So that one's huge for me.
Mhm. Um, so it's grown since that initial theory. So self determination theory, or SDT, is a motivational theory of personality, development, and social processes that examines how social contexts and individual differences facilitate different types of motivation, um, especially within autonomy and controlled motivation. This in turn predicts learning, performance, experience, and psychological health.
Okay.
So they've grown just from that external idea and say that our self determination has all these other factors that actually play a part of it.
Let's see.
But how does self determination theory work? It starts with it's important to realize that psychological growth described by self determination theory does not happen automatically. While some people may be oriented towards such growth, it's a continuous process. So some people are naturally more self determined, others aren't. And we'll
Okay.
talk more about that. But no matter who you are, it's a continuous process.
Okay. So it's the same for everybody. It's continuous.
Mhm. So there's the external and internal factors, and that's where it determines whether you are someone who's naturally more self-determined versus somebody who's not. And an example of this, and I'll talk about both. Imagine a person who fails to complete an important task at work or school or any type of situation. If this person is high in self-determination, they'll admit their fault, believe that they can do something to fix the problem, and take action to correct the mistake. If you're someone who was low in self-determination, they might instead look for other things that they can blame. They might make excuses, assign blame elsewhere, or refuse to admit their own role in the completing the project on time.
Okay.
So you can also fall in between the high and low.
All right.
It's important to also remember, like, if you're like that low self-determination, that you might also feel helpless in the situation, so you also don't know how to fix it.
Don't have control over it. Believe nothing that they can do will have any true effect. Is really how the feeling helpless part of it goes.
Mm-hmm. So that's where like the transition from the initial self-determination theory kind of was. They just believed kind of everyone could just do it. There was no like other internal like matter behind it.
Okay.
And then the new one is like, yeah, you're high or low, but there's also the internal play on why your mind is working that way.
Okay.
So that rather than thinking a motivation as being driven by either internal or external reward, is often helpful to view it as a continuum between self-determined and non-self-determined behaviors. So when you can decide whether it's which behavior it is, you can start working towards reversing it to the other. On one end of the continuum are purely self-determined behaviors that tend to be internally driven and are done for the enjoyment of, interest of, and satisfaction of the action itself. On the other end, non-self-determined behaviors, which are performed only because they must be done, there's a complete lack of control on that extreme end of that scale.
Okay. So a deadline is what motivates them instead of self motivation on that.
Mm-hmm. But you don't have control in that, so that can start to push you into that non-self-determined behavior unless you truly have like a passion within what you're doing.
Makes sense.
Um,
That's why it's important for people to enjoy what they do for work.
so it
If you
talks
don't,
about impact. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, because if you don't enjoy what you do for work, you're not gonna be as motivated to want to do that job every day. And I want to get
Mm-hmm.
up out of bed to go there every day. It makes it a lot easier when you enjoy what you do.
Mm-hmm. And that'll start pushing you towards that higher end of that self-determination part of
Right.
that theory. Um, so impact of having that self-determination. It talks about it's the concept of self-determination has been applied to a wide variety of areas, including education, work, parenting, exercise, and health. So you can learn to foster that high self-determination in many areas of your life. Talking about workplace, you can work in an area that you love, but that's also not the only thing because you can work in a field that you love, but your employer can make it miserable for you, so it can
Oh,
take that away.
absolutely. You've
So
been
you
through
have
that.
to,
I've been through that.
yeah.
Love what we do, but can't stand the people above us, and they make it miserable on us. Especially
Mm-hmm.
in construction, it's huge.
So you have to be able to find the balance between the love for what you're doing, but also working with the people that are working in an environment that fosters that same motivation to get you there. It talks about a phenomenon known as over justification check. So you want to do your own checks for being in an area that you shouldn't be in. It talks about in competition, such as sports, athletics, you're training for something, making sure that you're not falling into those low or non self determination concepts and staying in that high self
Right.
determination concept, not looking at it as like I'm just training for a deadline and training because I want to do this.
Right. Okay, so how can you relate that to sports?
Um, I think for me, I could relate to I played travel ball all the way up to my junior year, and I actually took a step back from it
Okay.
just because the coach and I did not mesh. I actually sat out my junior year of high school ball too because it just wasn't in the right mental place to be playing.
Hmm.
And my travel ball coach was my high school basketball coach as well.
Okay.
Um, we did not see eye to eye on a situation, and I actually sat out the rest of my season of my sophomore year. I didn't play travel ball for them anymore, and I didn't play my junior year. She actually ended up getting fired that year, so then I went back my senior year to
Okay.
play. I
So
think
again, the person can make a big difference on your determination level.
mhm.
So,
So. I think being able to know that I could keep my goals and keep who I was and not kind of let go of the value that I held for the disagreement that we were having was like I guess a big one for me. But I still
right.
trained. I just didn't let go of the training aspect behind it. I
Well, that's
just
good.
found different ways. I found different ways to train.
Okay.
I still played basketball at the park. I didn't let any of that go. I just kind of walked away from her.
Sounds similar to me with baseball. I went through the same thing. The coach and I didn't see eye to eye, and then I went down to Virginia, tried to play ball down there, and they didn't sign my release forms since I moved as a solo individual instead of a family. And I needed this consent from the school that there was no recruiting involved. And my baseball coach was still mad at me for leaving, never signed the paperwork. I didn't get to play baseball that year, and I never played for another team again.
That sucks. I think mine was a little different because
Yeah.
I was being recruited by schools, so my school definitely noticed when I sat out and didn't finish. So our athletic director talked to me.
Yeah.
I was being benched and my starting position was being taken away from me because I was going to go to my grandma's funeral. And it was like, my family comes first, so I would choose my family.
Absolutely, as it should.
So I kind of still was like, I'm choosing my family, and you can find a new shooting guard
Yeah.
wherever. But
Well,
I think
excuse
the
me.
situation with that kind of grew. I don't know what happened my during travel ball and during junior year that actually kind of put the nail in the coffin for her. But
Yeah.
um, so and it goes into like social settings. Self determination can also play an important role in social relationships. It talks about when people are in a new group. Talks about online groups. Their needs for autonomy, relatedness, and um, or incompetence are fulfilled, it impacts their social identity, which can turn into social identity, which in turn affects their participation behaviors. So, like when you're having those fulfilled and that you're more inclined to like get on game, stream, XYZ.
Yeah, that's something we can all relate to. I just kind of went through the same thing recently. I haven't streamed this much, like at all this month, and it wasn't due to the lack of motivation. I just wasn't mentally in tune with it at this month, as I
Mhm.
just it's summertime, the kids, the pool, sports, all that stuff was going on, and I just didn't have it in me to come home and then stream because I was enjoying the family too, though. So
We were still flexing like your
yeah,
um so then it jumps into like some traits about self-determined people. And again,
okay,
this is where it talks about how you can be a low self-determined person but work towards these. So it'll tell the traits and then we'll talk about how you can improve them. Some of the traits are believe that they have control over their own lives. So you can just kind of like take that step forward. You can make what you want about the situation that you're in. Have high self motivation, and that's meaning like you don't rely on that external award or punishment that comes with it.
okay,
So you're doing it for you. You're not doing for what comes with it. Um, base their actions on their goals and behaviors. So again, it kind of goes with that same thing. You're doing it for you, not
intentionally
what comes
engage.
after.
Yeah,
And then they take responsibility for their own behaviors and actions. Those are the biggest ones that,
that is a huge one. Um,
and then how to improve your own self-determination according to this theory is improve your self-awareness. I think we talked about that a lot within this whole journey is just having a lot of self-awareness. So
identifying. Yeah,
mhm. Find social support is another thing. And then
gain
gaining mastery.
mastery. Yep, I found where you get your stuff.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so just kind of like circling back what we've talked about a lot in this is like finding who you truly are will definitely help within your self-determination in everything that you do. You're going to be able to, we talked about boundaries, you're going to be able to stand boundaries. You're going to be able to go through your mental health journey. You're going to be able to stand where you need to stand. Um, again, it all just kind of builds together.
Yeah. Boundaries, again, were a huge one that we talked about, not only with yourself, but setting them with others and making them known and expressing them. So that can lead to your self determination. Again, stuff ties in together. Yeah.
Any thoughts to add to that?
Um, there's and my input on this is I feel like there's a difference in self determination and well, kind of a not really the difference, but a similarity in self determination and confidence for a few things, right? When it's the what was the very first one? It was the type, right? The
Autonomy.
where does it go? Where it go? The or the competence one, right?
That
Competence.
was the third.
The second one, yeah. So when you feel competent in something, you're gonna have a little bit of confidence. So when you carry yourself with confidence in the things that you're doing, it not only makes you feel better, but then you might also perform better. So I feel like if you have confidence in yourself and what you're doing, it also will help you with your self determination.
I agree with that. I think when anything I go into that I feel like I have the knowledge or background or anything like that going into it, it goes a lot smoother than if I'm like down on myself and like I'm not ready for this.
Right. Yeah, it takes a lot of the nerves out of it, and you can overthink everything and put yourself in a different state of mind because you're being anxious. So,
Makes me think of every single person I've trained under or in construction, they always say like fake it till you make it.
Can't do
Say
it.
it, but I've learned you say it with a smile on your face or say it like very confidently, like you're saying. Don't give an answer, but be like, I'm gonna look into it. I'll
Right.
get right back to you.
And that's the type of leader that I think that I became successful with, not only the military but in the construction field. Is if I don't know the answer, I'm not just going to give you one. I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
hold on a minute, we're going to go get one, and if we go together, we might be able to get it better. Your two heads is better than one, kind of thing. And
So
not
like
everybody.
definitely I've seen people where they like beat up themselves in front of people and that doesn't go very far, but if you're definitely like, all right, I don't know that answer, either let's
Yeah,
go look at it together or I don't have the time right now, but
I'll
maybe
get
in
back to
30
you.
minutes
Yeah, I'll get
we'll
back to you.
mhm,
Yep. And that's one thing that letting people see that side of you also is huge for leadership. Because if you come off as the Mr. Know It All or Mrs. Know It All and you just have the answers, even though they're wrong or right, it's going to look a lot better when you're like, hold on a minute, let's take a step back, let's get the right answer so we can do it right the first time, instead of telling you to do it again and then you get angry when I tell you you did it wrong because I told you to do it wrong. And then now we're doing it not once, but maybe three times. And then now we're really mad. And we're costing not only the company money, but materials.
mhm.
So,
But yeah, time, just all of it, but that's a
yeah.
whole different topic. Um, but I
So,
think that was it for that one.
okay.
Unless you,
All right. And then that's all I had on it. It's the more of the confidence and carrying yourself well. It would lead to the confidence side real strong. And that fake it till you make it stuff doesn't work with me. Never has on my job sites. And you can always usually tell the ones that are faking it. And you can usually pull them off the task that they're doing and put them in a task they're more comfortable with, and you'll see where they flourish.
mhm. I just always relate to that because that's something that's always been told to me. But I think I lean more towards like what you're saying, the I can smile and say, I don't know the answer, I'll get back to you right now or in a little bit, whatever it
Right.
may be. And it's always worked out a lot better than me being like,
Go do it
dude,
this way. Yeah. It always has worked out better for me
is
as well.
anytime I've done that, I've been wrong. If I was just like winging it.
Right. All right. So that covers the first topic. We're going to lead into.
Um, I almost said anxiety. Why is it with my brain?
Anorexia.
Anorexia, yep.
Okay.
So we said last podcast we were going to start doing eating disorders. So that'll probably be one topic for a while on each of the podcasts.
Right.
So this week will be anorexia. Um, First things first, it's like it is a serious medical illness. It's not a lifestyle choice. Some people are like, oh, you're just doing it. It is actually something that is chemically going on in their brain where it distorts their image of their body and the reaction that
Yeah,
they
it's a
have is
psychiatric disease, guys.
yeah. Um so the eating disorder makes them obsess about their weight and food. Um and then you distort your how you view your body. So we talked a little bit last time about body dysmorphia. You view yourself as overweight even though you're at a very low body weight. With anorexia, you may use abnormal eating habits to cope with stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem. So then all these start to tie together because you start to get anxious about how you look, what you're doing, and then you're also limiting food um, as a sense of like that gives you control over your life.
Okay. And yeah, it restricts their food intake, and then it also messes with their energy requirements. Is a big one
Mm-hmm.
for this.
Anorexia can affect people of all ages, race, and ethnic backgrounds, body weight, and genders. This problem affects more women than men. I think we talked about that last week, that women are affected more by the eating disorders than men, but it affects everybody. Uh, it often starts during the teenage years, but it can also develop during childhood and in later years in life, such as like 40 and above.
Okay.
The number of women ages 14 or 15 to 19 who have anorexia have increased every 10 years since 1930. So
Since
it's jumping.
1930. Holy mackerel, that's a long time to be studying this.
I was gonna say, I assume it's been like going on longer, but this is like when they've started picking up data on. So with this, you're known as like the restrictor type because it starts to talk a little bit about bulimic. That's a different type of eating disorder. So as anorexia, you're a restrictor type. You're restricting the type of food and the amount of intake you have. Who's at risk of this? A person with anorexia is more likely to come from a family with a history of certain food health problems. Typically, they could be overweight, they've struggled, had a family struggles with weight, or they've struggled with eating disorders.
Okay.
These include weight problems, physical illness, and mental health problems. Mental health problems can include depression and substance abuse. And then there's also a combined factor that can increase your risk of having or developing anorexia. They include genetic, biological, behavioral, psychological, and social factors. They can be social attitudes, family influences, genetics, brain chemical imbalances, developmental issues, and then we talked about sports a little bit already. And it's certain sports and activities that you've done that focus on your body shape and size, such as like ballet, gymnastics, modeling, wrestling, jockeying, and it's not limited to that, but those are like the biggest ones that they say that kind of affect your idea that you have to keep this nice slim body figure.
Right. And I can see that because the pressure that gets put on models, gymnasts, any physical like figure skating, everybody that they gotta have their body in a certain shape to fit the quote unquote standard. We'll say it's not a standard. It's really ridiculous, but it's society and what we live in. The body image that they get perceived that they have to be in is kind of ridiculous.
Um, Personally, I did gymnastics as a kid, and thankfully, I didn't experience any of this. I experienced more from my basketball coaches than I did from gymnastics. So, like to me, when I like read that, my mind goes to like my personal experience of I didn't experience any of that when I was in gymnastics, but I was also 5 to
Younger,
10.
yeah.
Yeah. But I can definitely see why they're told to, or they experience that, especially like they're getting up into the higher levels. I was just a little kid running around doing cartwheels and little somersaults, but I can see when they get to that higher level of needing to maintain that type of figure, keep your muscle mass.
Right. If I lose power, it's starting to thunder real bad here. So if you lose me, guys, weather's been absolutely ridiculous these last couple of weeks. We lost power 3 times already. Don't know what's going on. It's hot. It's cold. It's windy. It's rainy.
Um, so anxiety may cause many symptoms They may be related to food or weight, but they also can be physical or emotional. So the weight and food related symptoms can include the body change, so low body weight, extreme fear of becoming fat, excessive physical activity, denial of being hungry, fixation of with making foods. They want to be in control of what's being made. Um, Fluid loss, so dehydration, so they're not going to drink a lot of fluids because they're watching that number go up when they're drinking water, so they're
Which,
maintaining that water weight. Becoming very thin, stomach pain or bloating, so that's not going to help the situation.
no, not at all.
Constipation, being lethargic or extremely tired, unable to handle cold temperatures, fine body hair, dry or yellowish skin, thinning hair, brittle nails, infertility, and then emotional symptoms can include like withdrawal from social situations.
Okay.
um,
So there's a lot that
Depression.
could, yeah, there's a lot, right?
Yeah, I think it also talks about like how in men it can cause low testosterone. Um, Women you can have lack of periods. You can have bone loss, brain damage, multi-organ failure.
Brain
You can even
damage. Wow.
die. And
Uh,
then
I
go
wasn't
ahead.
expecting to hear that.
So anorexia is fatal. It is one of the highest death rates for any mental health disorder. And that was one that
You guys hear
kind of
that? Has the highest death rate for any mental health disorder. Anorexia.
mhm.
Let that sink in.
It causes low red blood cell count. It can give you heart problems, low blood pressure. So when you start to affect your body in this way, like everything starts to shut down.
It starts
So
to fail.
mhm. Diagnosing it is just kind of like the overall you start to notice the changes in how somebody's behaving. You'll obviously go to the doctor. The malnutrition will be noticed. They'll have a psychiatrist come in and diagnose. And then treating it from there is getting a nutrition counseling to help you make healthier food choices. It is a normal process of going through like a counseling session of how to process it, how to go through it, getting to the source of why it's like that. You can get put on medications for it. You can um, join group counseling to join other people. So it's like a normal process of normal counseling, but then you also have to add that nutritionist in there to help you because you're not just going to be like, oh, I went to counseling, it's going to be better, it's going to be
Right.
that lifelong having to figure out how to eat and how to maintain your body.
Here's a little crazy fact. It says, unfortunately, many people with anorexia don't want treatment, as at
Mhm.
least initially. They desire to remain thin, overrides the concerns about their actual health and well being. So make sure you guys, if you have a loved one that you feel is being affected by this, you urge him or her to talk to a doctor. We are, again, we aren't medical professionals, guys, so we are just reading off the facts and statistics and giving you a little insight on what we're talking about. So make sure that you actually seek actual medical like professional help.
So you bring up statistics. Eating disorder statistics, 9% of the US population, or 28.8 million Americans, will have an eating disorder in their lifetime. There are 10,200 deaths each year that are directly resulted from an eating disorder. That's one death every 52 minutes from an eating disorder.
Wow.
Less than 6% of people with eating disorders are medically diagnosed as underweight.
And this is U.S. population or overall population?
Just US.
Just U.S. guys. So imagine those numbers are higher in the world
Mm-hmm.
because we're only choosing the U.S. for these statistics.
So that's just overall eating disorders. So for anorexia statistics, 1 in 5 anorexia deaths are by suicide. So it's no longer by like the body shutting down, it's by suicide. In young people, the mortality rate of anorexia is 4 to 11%. So the risk of death in young people with anorexia is 11 times or 12 times higher than that for the general population of the same age. And then the median age of onset of anorexia is 12.13 years old.
That's the median.
Mm-hmm.
12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. Wonder if bullying
I would say
leads to a
it's
lot of
probably.
the. But we did say it's a psychiatric trait.
I just say 50
But
to 80% of the risk for anorexia is genetic.
okay,
So
so I wonder if it's triggered by certain things. Then it's something that we could look into. See if there's like initial triggers or stuff that it might not be there till triggered, kind of like PTSD or
mhm.
anxiety or depression. So I'll have to write that down and look into it. It's something that'd be interesting to me. See if there's like initial triggers for it or if it's just there. Wow, 12 years old. Hmm. Sad. And the number one leading cause of mental health deaths. My chair keeps sagging. The air pump isn't working very well anymore. It's got its use, that's for sure.
I believe that. That's what I have.
All right, guys, we talked about these two topics. If you guys have any questions right now in chat, go ahead and let us know, and we'll bring them up. We'll discuss them, see if we can answer them. Meantime, um, guys, what we kind of wanted to do over the summertime was talk about things that are probably a little more sociably like tough on each other, right? On yourselves for it being summertime. A lot more people are outside in bathing suits or in less clothing because they're not in short or pants and a sweatshirt. For the body image, bulimia, anorexia, they're very important, and everybody should feel comfortable in their own skin. So it's on us to try to raise the bar on not allowing that to happen so much. It The more awareness that we can try to spread for each other to try to put out a positive note and make sure that people aren't getting bullied or made fun of for the way they look, because a lot of people can't control the actual way they look. There is people that could do more. Myself, I could work out more and we can work out, but some people, even with working out, can't change their image. It's health. Health is a big thing, and we don't know what everybody's going through. So you guys got to lift each other up, not push each other down. Muffin says, "Be yeah, don't tell Sharp how pasty he is." All right, thanks, Muffin. Tough crowd. But it's really all about helping each other out, guys. You never know what the person next to you is going through on a daily basis. you could be the reason they choose to fight another day. Um, the the reason that they push to talk to somebody else that could save somebody else's day. So, are you reading chat?
Yeah.
She's trying so hard not to laugh.
You were trying to be so serious, and I was just like, I see it.
I was trying to be serious too. Muffin breaks the ice though. Um, if that's all you guys got, I myself have nothing else. But remember, guys, we are here. You are not alone. Our DMs are always open. We have Facebook, exclamation point FB in the chat. We have a Discord that you guys can reach us out there. We have Twitter, X, whatever you guys want to call it. Also, the podcasts are on major platforms under the Fly High Wi-Fi podcast. If you guys want to listen to previous episodes. Yeah, don't give me that look. I forgot to upload last week's. Uh,
We're still
but
missing two other ones too.
I'm. We won't talk about it. All right. I'll go through them and look. Things are definitely better with humor, guys. Laughter is good. Laughter is definitely good. All right, you guys. I appreciate you guys all for being here. We appreciate you for being here. On behalf of myself, Mrs. Wi-Fi, Fly High Wi-Fi, we really do appreciate your day in and day out support. And we will be back with another episode in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.